Welcome to another episode of the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast, the show that helps coaches turn podcasting into building a powerful client attraction tool, whether you're a guest or a host. Now, today's guest is Curt Tueffert. He helps sales teams and leaders basically close more sales, right? Close more deals. That is the bottom line. And today we're going to be talking about 5 Stones for Slaying Giants. This is a book that Curt wrote. Let's welcome Curt to the show. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Karen, it's great to be here, and I appreciate you bringing me on your show. For all the listeners who want to lean in and learn some things about these 5 Stones for Slaying Giants.
Perfect. And there's got to be a story. Come on. There's always a story. We always start with your backstory. What inspired you to even... Let's start with that book. You're the author of 5 Stones, Slaying Giants. What inspired you to even write that book?
You bet. Karen, I'm from Houston, Texas, and many years ago, I wanted to be that professional speaker. I wanted to be the next Tony Robbins, the next Zig Ziglar. And I had a partner, and he and I were working together, and we were very competitive. He said he would write a book before I did. So being a salesperson, being very competitive, I started looking at my keynote, and that keynote was looking at different things we could do in order to increase our productivity, close more sales. I also looked at the David and Goliath stories, did some background checking, did some research, came up with these simple concepts: passion, excellence, vision, value, and confidence. Wove those through the story and then made it my 5 stones. And of course, each and every one of the listeners you have, Karen, has giants in front of them, whether it's not getting the coaching client, not articulating the value proposition. Maybe your internal self-talk says, nobody wants me. I don't have anything to say or to sell. These are the giants that we try to slay with these 5 stones.
Love that. And because this is it, isn't it? It's us that are in our own way. We are our biggest giant, if you like.
Well played,
It always starts with us. And it's interesting that you started with that. Yes, this internal dialogue that so many people have. And the thing is that so many coaches, they go into business. They're not sales experts. They're passionate about what they do. They want to be able to serve, but somehow in the training, when everybody trains to be a life coach or whatever type of coach, they seem to forget the training part on how to build a business as a coach. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm not a sales expert. So how do you help people close more deals, especially when they don't come from a sales background?
Karen, that's a great question. How do I help somebody who's a coach sell more? A lot of what I do deals with a couple of assessments. I'm a big believer in the behavioral style assessment called DISC, and also another assessment called the Sales Intelligence Quotient. So I do some baseline figuring out where that person is, and then we start looking at where is that person's gap? What are they afraid of? Where is it that they need some help selling? You shared with me that you came from a sales background into where you're currently at. And we know there's an art of asking great questions. There's defining your ideal customer profile. There's the ability to tie benefits to the value that you're articulating. There's trust and rapport building. All of that seems to be areas that coaches and people who are working independent and sole proprietors are struggling with. So we start with a baseline. And from that baseline, I start piling on little baby steps in order for them to see themselves with small wins that lead to medium-sized wins that lead to large wins.
And I think, and I know this is, maybe I'm just talking from my point of view, right? I had this mindset that salespeople are bad, right? A vision of a dodgy secondhand car salesperson, and I didn't want to be that. Right? Do you think that's is that just me, or is that quite a common belief in some of these coaches that really want to serve and yet somehow their subconscious is almost fighting against them because they don't want to appear as a pushy salesperson, and that is pushing the sales away. Do you have that come up at all?
Karen, I do. There is that internal stigma that we're painted with this big, large brush that if we even say the word salesperson, we're that insurance person you saw on television. We're that used car secondhand where the TV pans the lot with all the prices in the windshield. And they immediately associate us with that. And if you look at where we're at right now, toward the end of 2025 going forward, everything revolves around tech, a tech stack or an AI stack. And that's very consultative. And I try to move people away from that transaction into being very consultative, asking a lot of questions, being very inquisitive, doing a lot of homework up front so that you can come across as that professional expert, even if it's transportation sales, automotive, or even if it's insurance sales. We're still looking at asking questions to help that person who is puzzled get out of their predicament.
And I think with the rise of AI and everyone is trying to automate absolutely everything, but you're never going to get away from that because with every sale, you've got to have that discovery part to it where you need to ask the question. At the end of the day, otherwise you don't know whether what you have is going to be the right fit. Otherwise, you are being a dodgy salesperson. You're just trying to sell for the sake of selling. So having that art or learning that skill set of asking the right kind of questions, the curious type of questions, that's going to help people sell a lot more on the back end. And do you think, because it is getting a little bit scary, right? AI seems to be taking it over, but I don't think that's ever going to take that part away. Do you?
Karen, I don't think it's going to take what you just said, which was the discovery, and you hit the nail on the head. If you can automate a sales process before and after the discovery, you can then use AI for that. But if I was talking to you, Karen, you're bringing your life experience, your professional experience in when you're asking me a tough, open-ended question and I answer it, and then you follow it up with a little bit deeper. What do you mean by that? Or when that happens, what happens there? Or walk me through this. Or Curt, when you said this, tell me about that. AI today cannot do that without just prompts on a screen. Now, maybe 10 years from now, it'll be able to, but you and I will be in a different place at that point. For those of us who are independent or small consultants and we've got a great product or service or an experience we're trying to sell, be very careful about what can be automated. Now, what I know from the research here is that buyers are moving further down the sales cycle. So they've already made the evaluation they need something. They've probably already evaluated 2 or 3 of those products through technology and internet searches. And then they've made the decision they want to purchase something. Then they call the salesperson because the tech has already complemented it. Back in the day, I might think I need an accounting system. So the first thing I did, call a sales rep. But now I'm evaluating the top 4 accounting systems based on Google searches, and I'm looking at their website, and I'm watching some of their videos, and I've narrowed it down to 2. And from those 2, now I call the salesperson. So that salesperson has to be very inquisitive. How did you get to us? What work did you do? Wow, man, that took a lot of your time. Walk me through what you found. And you really are using behavioral style selling and consultation so that person doesn't feel they made a mistake. They feel like, hey, I have put a lot of effort into this. I am moving down the right pace. My boss will feel good about the decision I'm making and the recommendation I'm providing. And the salesperson at that point guides and directs them to the sale.
Oh, interesting. So you're really seeing a distinct change in the behavioral ways of the buyers. So you're saying, do you think that the sales teams, they need to change, they need to adapt to this sort of new way of buying in? Because, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You can research anything now because of AI. It makes it a lot easier, which maybe is going to make it an easier I shouldn't say easier, but no, I think it's going to make it an easier sell by the time they come to you, because like you say, they're almost half bought in. Is that what you're seeing?
I'm seeing that, Karen, on the B2B side, but we're also seeing a lot of it on the B2C side. I'm making decisions before I go to the hardware store to pick up the tool. I'm making these decisions before, and I get a lot of that automation. So the original question about the sellers, if you're not perfecting your craft, and if you are that dirty salesperson that you said, you'll get automated. I don't talk to a salesperson when I buy something from Amazon. I've already made my decision, and then I just go there for the transaction. Now, they've eliminated selling per se. Other companies in B2B are using chatbots and AI in order to help you make a decision. Here's a quiz. This quiz will determine if you're better on A, B, or C. Now that we've determined it's C, here's some more information. Give it to me. And the AI bot will weave and bob and get you to where you think you need to be. And then if you need any more help, click this button and then somebody will call you. Otherwise, you can make that decision on your own. From a financial standpoint, and I'm the business owner, if I can remove my sales teams, that's great. Because I can have people work 24 hours, 7 days a week, never take a day off, never get sick, automate. But they still can't replace you, Karen. They can't replace your accent, your life history, your ability to ask those probing questions, your ability to be intuitive and see the body language shift when you're saying, okay, Curt, walk me through if you never changed anything. And you see me start looking off to the distance going, oh, wow, I can't. This is really hurting our productivity. We really have a problem here. If we don't fix this, man, we might not be able to make payroll. AI can't figure out the shift in your body language or your tonality, but you can, because this is what you do for a living. You sell systems to help get people out of that problem so they can make payroll. And so there you are in that discovery phase. So yes, you got to get better. Everyone on this call who's listening to this podcast, tune up your listening skills. Selling is consultative. It isn't suede shoe, pinky ring, plaid jacket, get a free ice cream cone for 3 different sales. It's not what we're doing.
Right.
It's a human interaction.
Absolutely, because whether it's B2B or it's B2, it doesn't matter. It's human to human at the end of the day. So what advice would you have? So what would you say is the one skill you talk about? You've got to really hone your skills now, right? Because the playing field has changed, right? And it is in a constant state of change right now. So what would you say is the number one thing that they really need to focus on to help them close more deals?
Karen, it's the number one thing, but it's a two-parter. The first thing is really get to understand people from their side of the desk. Tony Alessandra says that there's something called the platinum rule. Treat people the way they want to be treated. Now, in order for me to treat someone the way they want to be treated, I need to know their behavioral styles, if they're faster paced, slower paced, task oriented, people oriented, more formal, less formal, intentional, impromptu. Once I can get and understand that and I become a student of that, then the number one thing is the art of asking great open-ended questions. We've got to get to this idea that people have needs and wants. We understand that one. But a true sales consultant figures out the why. Another great business philosopher, Jim Rohn, said that when the why gets stronger, the how gets easier. Why is it that you need to make a decision on this house? Why is it that you need to make a decision on that security system? And if I've built enough trust and rapport, I'll tell you what that why is, and it's typically emotive. And when that why gets stronger, then how I'm going to afford this purchase, how I'm going to sell this up the chain, how I'm going to beat the committee on this gets easier. But we always just say, hey, does your product come in blue? Yeah, it comes in blue. It comes in 5 kinds of blue. How many do you want? Rather than saying, oh, that's an interesting question. Do you want it in blue? No. No, if it comes in blue, we don't want it. And so
Mm,
we've got to just be curious about people and curious about asking these open-ended questions. And yeah, you can use AI to learn how to ask better questions. You can weave in prompts in AI that says, this person is a high behavioral style of a type D. He's the plant manager of an industrial plant. What are the top 6 open-ended questions I can ask that person? Or grab their LinkedIn social media profile, do a deep dive, know who that person is, then ask AI, what are the top 4 questions I can ask to determine what this person does when they don't do work? And the next thing you
mm,
know, I'm having curiosity-based questions. I'm learning, I'm building a relationship. So later on, when I say, Karen, my professional recommendation is you buy this widget for $257. Wow, Curt, that's really a lot of money. You said this was important. Here's the benefit. You said if you didn't change something, it could cost you thousands of dollars. So what's preventing us from solving that problem today for 250 so that you don't have to talk to your boss about another $2,000 problem? And again,
mm.
it all comes from building that relationship.
Brilliant. And interesting how I never thought of doing that. Yes, see, I think people are too afraid of AI, but actually use it as a tool. That's all it is, a tool. So it could actually help you. Yeah. For any of you, if you're out there thinking, what's the this is all our different personality types, and you can adapt your verbiage to sync more so that you resonate more with that personality type. And it's a fascinating subject. I find it fascinating. Not everybody likes sales. They try to avoid sales, but the sales is the one thing they actually need. If you're in business, you need sales. So it's going to be beneficial and probably helpful because there's AI now to help you out. Learn the skill. Because what do you think is the biggest thing that people are getting stuck with right now with the playing field as it is right now with the rise of AI?
I think they're not being distinct. They're not being unique. They're getting lumped into the you're just like everybody else club. And therein lies the challenge. Just go to any of your large grocery stores, look at bread, look at beer, look at soup. There's hundreds of choices and they all look about the same. And you've got to
Mm,
figure out what's that thing that stands out. And it could be your ability. You said the word resonate. Think about a tuning fork. And if the two sounds resonate, then they get into harmony together. But if they don't resonate, then they're way off. And that's what happens when you come in too strong, you come in too needy, you come in too
mm-hmm.
desperate, or the receiver sees you as a salesperson and they're defensive and they just say, God, I want you. So there's no resonation there. And so you come in there and go, and look, Karen, I don't know if this is going to fit. I would just like to ask you a few questions to see if there's a fit. Hey, if there is, great. If there isn't, Karen, I just want to give you back your time. It's pretty
Mm.
defenseless. Okay, Curt, you can ask me a couple of questions. The resonation's a little more harmonious than clashing.
Oh, absolutely. I suppose I don't know if it is the number one rule, but in my head, the number one rule is keep rapport. You got to keep rapport. So for you, look, if there's listeners out there that are like, they need help with improve their sales, to close their deals. If they've got a sales team or not, do you just work with sales teams or do you work with individual business owners as well, Curt?
I work with both. It's easy to connect with me because I understand we've got technology like Zoom calls and the things that you and I are doing. This could be a coaching moment. This could be something that I could work with an independent business owner on, improving their skills, take a baseline assessment, have a couple of sessions with me. Again, let's use the tools in front of us to get us those deals that are in the future.
Love that. And so, what should the listeners do next if they are interested?
Karen, hop onto my website, which is peaksalesstrategy.com. It's a great big word, peaksalesstrategy.com. Therein, you can find everything about me. You can ask me questions. You can contact me. And I would love to have dialogue with anyone who's just frustrated about sales or would like to tune up their sales team.
Fantastic. And if you're driving and listening, as always, don't worry, Curt's details will be in the show notes. So resort back to them when you are ready to. Curt, thank you so much for your time today. It's been lovely speaking with you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're